reiterate what I just said in the last few minutes. So essentially, we're in this ProjectWise training today, lunch and learn. What I said just now was any new projects, state highway projects that we are waiting for getting an NTP, or we're going to be receiving NTP in next few months. Between now and the end of the year, we will start using ProjectWise to save, store, share, and work collaboratively on any projects. It will mostly affect highway and water resources departments. If the project has any structural elements or traffic signals or other traffic elements, those will, at this moment, we have not made a decision yet if they will still need ProjectWise. But definitely highway and water resources will need to have ProjectWise. Every user that will be working on this project, they will need to have access to ProjectWise, and that's the only way they will be able to access the design files. So ProjectWise should be already installed on your computer, and you should have a desktop logo. If not, you need to submit a ticket with SCD, and they can install the ProjectWise on your computer. We have a limited number of ProjectWise licenses, I believe about half a dozen, but we are planning to buy additional licenses. These licenses are not specific to any user, just like MicroStation and Power Inroads. These licenses are stored in with a third-party license management software. So the way it works is if you have simultaneously 12 people, let's say we have 12 licenses, simultaneously 12 people logs into ProjectWise, they will be able to use ProjectWise without any problem. But the 13th person, when the person tries to log in, it will basically give them an error message that there is not enough licenses available to sign up. And I have not received any instances so far with the number of licenses we currently have of we running out of that. But if we do, then we will basically add additional licenses. So, and that is because not every 12 people working simultaneously at ProjectWise. This happens very rarely. And we'll monitor it and add as needed. Any questions so far? Okay. So I just want to launch ProjectWise. Just double click and launch ProjectWise. When you double click and launch it, it will open something like this. Now, provided that you do have a ProjectWise, what is called a ProjectWise access. So I sent out a form. If I missed someone, please fill forward. The project managers, I'm requesting them to forward the form to anyone that probably I missed. I think Jerry's son, Jerry, I may not have sent you the form. There's a form that you have to fill out. And that form goes to State Highway. We're talking about State Highway. The project manager, State Highway project manager for the project you're working on, and that person will send it to Office of Information Technology downtown in Baltimore, and they will give you access. Once you have access, you will have a login and password. So let me give you a brief overview of these data sources. So imagine these are like servers, right? Like you have a P drive, BI has a P drive, SHA has these 3 drives. The SHA Engineering Design Management System 1, Engineering Design Management System 2, and SHA ProjectWise for the P3 program, I-495, P3 270 P3 program. So you may not see all the data sources depending on the project you are working on, which data source that project is located. If you're working with a district project, for example, that could be located in SHA EDMS01. That is the original data source that SHA used to use, and a lot of those projects are stored there. Any new project, specifically anything that's designed with the Open Roads Designer, most likely will be stored at the SHA EDMS02. So you will need to request specifically access to that folder, whatever project that you are looking for. So the first to get general access to ProjectWise is that form that I sent. that will give you a login access to ProjectWise. But there's once you are in ProjectWise, then you need to know which folder you need to go to navigate to be able to access the files that you need. So I'm
Hey,
going to log in.
Pushkar, I have one question, if you don't mind. So is SCD or do they know how to like set up these data sources, like to have them populate?
Yes, they do. Yeah. So the
Okay,
data
okay,
sources you don't need to manually do that, because when you install ProjectWise, it comes with there is a yeah. So the short answer is SCD knows how to set it up.
okay.
But
And just one other thing, for that form, is if we already have an account, we don't need to resubmit that form, right? It's not like we need
that
to.
is correct.
Yeah, okay.
However, David Kendall reached out to me earlier this morning with a new form, and I told him that if you have already had access and you haven't used ProjectWise for a long time, there are two things can happen. One, first of all, your password may have got you need a username and password, and it gets reset every 3 months, I believe. So if you haven't used it for more than 3 months, it's possible that your password has expired and you need to reset it. So he said he reset his password 2 days back, but he's still not being able to log in. He's getting a message that his login and username is not correct. That can happen if your server ID is not correct. And I sent a message to most of the highway people. If you go to the highway channel, I will forward it to the water resources as well after this training. You need to, there is something that you need to change your server setting so that you can see these data sources correctly. And that I also sent it to SCD. So if you are not able to do it by yourself, SCD should be able to help you with that. Yeah. So I'm in SHA-EDMS01. Now my application here may not look exactly the same way. I'm just gonna push it right here a little bit so that you can see. So my window may look a little differently because you can actually move around these tools whichever way you want. And I have it like this, so that's how it looks like. But the main thing is I want you to focus on that left pane, where it says SHA-EDMS01. And I'm going to go into some basic first because I know some people here are not a ProjectWise user or never used ProjectWise, and some maybe have used it in the past. So there is definitely a different level of expertise with this. But honestly, this software is very, very simple to use. So once you go through this lunch and learn, you should be able to maneuver most of it, if not all. So very first thing is you have the data source, then you expand the documents folder. And I'll give you one example of a district project. So if you go to district offices, this is just like File Explorer, Folder Explorer in Windows. So you go to district office. Let's say we're going to District 4, and you have projects, and you have all these projects, right? Now it's a big, huge list of projects that are currently being worked on. You need to find the project that you're currently working on. Like for example, this is one of my projects, PAB 14579 and 700 pieces. I know Solomon and Arun and Laura are working on this project from Water Resources. Gerard, Rachel are working on it from Highway. And the PM. So when you go to this project and if you right click and go to properties, let me orient you a little bit about this properties window and what you need to know about it. So it'll give you the basic folder name, the description, so forth, where it's located, which project are on. It also tells you the owner. This is the project manager, district for project manager, Jordan. But you want to go to the workflow and state, and I want to explain you what these mean. So in ProjectWise, the ProjectWise workflow utilizes these 5 workflow states. The first one is preliminary. So when you start working on a project and you're setting up baselines or whatever, base map and gathering as-bills or any other documents that you're storing on ProjectWise, whether it's CAD files, milestone reports, PIR, whatnot, any files that you just first create or save on ProjectWise are by default, they are in this preliminary state. While they are on this preliminary state, it's only supposed to be visible to you, the person who is working on it actively, and you don't want to share. You're not at a stage where you are ready to share that file with anybody else. Okay. Now, this can be also set up in a way where, let's say, it's a water resources drainage area map, and you just started working on it, um, and you are the project engineer for the project, um, but you are getting help from a design engineer from water resources who is also working on the project, and you do need to share. Let's say it's a large project, and you have split it up into 2 or 3 areas, and you want your design engineer to work on one, and while you are working on another one, or so and so forth, and you want to share your file with him or her so that they see what you are doing and how you're doing it. Uh, that can be set up while you are still at preliminary state, where those files will be only visible to BAI water resources, but not visible to anybody else, whether with SHA or a sub-consultant or even highway. Um, Typically on SHA projects, these are set up, the user rights are set up by discipline. Um, and so they have different folders. I will explain this a little bit, how these folders are set up, and they have some default, you may say, user access rights for each folder. So that's preliminary. Next, once you have somewhat finalized that design, that the file that you were working on, and you are ready to share that with another discipline so that they can start doing their work. At that stage, you would change the file state from preliminary to the draft. And at that point, more people will have access to that file, and they will be able to physically see those files, or reference those files in their drawings and be able to visualize those. So when your file is in preliminary, if I reference that file into my design file, if I don't have access to that particular file and that particular folder, even I wouldn't be able to reference it. And I wouldn't be able to see any of the designs that you're doing on that file. But once you hit send draft, you would be able to do that. You'd be able to see it. So far, so good. Okay. The next is comment. So when the project is every discipline worked on the project, all the drafts has been completed, and you want to send to your project manager for a initial peer review or QA/QC. You're going to change the state of those files to comment stage. At that point, the people who have access rights with the comment stage would be able to see those files. And not only that, they will be able to sort those files based on the stage. And they know which files are in comment, and they can start reviewing those. So that's comment. Next is review. Let's say I opened a file to comment stage, and I have provided review comments. I mocked it up, and I have a bunch of comments on those documents or drawings. At that point, I would change that to review stage. Yeah. And also, we're supposed to, when we submit like PI, semi-final, final report, final review, at that point, we also can change. We typically don't do that, but that's also a good best practice is to, when you upload the final version of all your design documents to ProjectWise for a milestone review, you should change that to a review stage, because that will basically give access to anybody and everybody who has logged into ProjectWise to be able to see those files, right? So the purpose of that, because when you are submitting milestone design files or plans or design documents, you don't necessarily know who is going to review. So by changing that state to review, it allows the state highway project manager to be able to forward it to anybody internally or externally, um, within or outside SHA, to be able to review those files in an electronic form, instead of having them PDF, and those PDFs could be very large. Then they'll have to download them, put them onto OneDrive or some shared other folders, and then share it like that because they cannot email them, or they'll have to burn it into a CD, or nowadays nobody uses CD, so a thumb drive and send them thumb drive and stuff like that. So that all of that can be bypassed by just changing it to the preview state, and sending a link to the person. Now, ProjectWise has different types of user licenses, right? You may or may not be familiar with that. The ProjectWise license that we have here, and most of you will have, is a full license. Means you will be able to pretty much do everything that ProjectWise can do. However, there is also a ProjectWise license which is absolutely free, and it's called a ProjectWise Explorer Viewer or Explorer Viewer or something like that. Navigator, I think that's what it's called. And that Navigator, ProjectWise Navigator software is basically, it's a free software that you can download from Bentley, and you will be, if you have login access to ProjectWise, you'll be able to log in, and you'll be able to only view files that are in a certain stage based on your user right. But you will not be able to upload anything or download anything from ProjectWise. You will be able to view. Um, So a lot of county agencies or sub-consultants, they don't necessarily work with ProjectWise. Utility owners, their consultants, let's say CSX, you are working with CSX, their consultant. I'm just giving examples. Like they may not need to have a paid version of ProjectWise unless they use that for other purposes. They can still be able to see these files just like they see in OneDrive or a SharePoint. Okay. And last is archive. So when the project has been advertised, the project has been advertised, and you're going into phase 5 services, you are supposed to archive all of your project files so that you don't inadvertently make any changes to those advertised set of drawings or documents, and they become record drawings, right, at that point. So you're supposed to change it to the archive state, and then basically the files become locked for from any further edit. Nobody can, including yourself, you cannot edit it. Okay. Now, first time I did archive any files, I was scared that if I by mistake archive something and I wanted to go back and let's say go back to a previous version, will I be able to do that? The short answer is maybe you will not be able to do it, but somebody who has the admin right in ProjectWise will be able to do that. So it's always can be reverted back to a previous stage, but that's the best practice that the ProjectWise set up for it. So now I'm just going to jump onto the workflow and folder security a little bit. Let's see if it opens. So similar to the workflow and state, there is a folder security, and I'm just going to expand this a little bit. Let's scroll down. So every folder, so I'm talking about this is a folder. This is the root folder for this project. And whatever user right is given to that folder, you can, when the project are set up by the project manager at SHA, they have an option to give the same access to all the subfolders, or then assign specific folder accesses to each folder. So here I'm just going to explain that it's like Chuck Rialt has access. He's the admin. Emily Miller is the admin. These are all SHA people. Ranjit Sahai, he's also an admin. So they have admin rights. So they can add folders. They can move stuff from archive to previous versions and those type of things. District 4 administrator is Jordan. He has access to all the District 4 folders. Looks like Federal Highway has access as well. BA is Produce and Associates. This is our name in ProjectWise Consultant BA. So anybody who works in Produce and Associates and you have a username, by default, you will have access to any folder that has this access as Consultant BA. And you see, we can create subfolders, delete, read, or write. CRI, and the subconsultant CV has access to it. And then individual disciplines, engineering systems, traffic, OHT, Office of Maintenance and Materials and Technology, Office of Construction, Office of Traffic and Safety, Office of Planning, OED, environmental design. So each of these divisions have specific access to each of the folders. So I'm giving an example. And we go to right away, go to properties, go to that folder. I don't know if you remember, but if you go to, let's say, Woods. So this is not set up correctly, but so the way it's supposed to be is that right away folder, they will only have read access. They will not have write access because they're not writing to this folder. So it is supposed to be this folder is supposed to be set up such a way that only the people who are supposed to work on that specific folder will have write access, and then others will have only read access. If they need to read, and be able to view the files within that folder. Okay. So you see the state is draft. If I go to archive, a lot less people will have access to it. So now, okay, again, it's not set up correctly. It's still showing write access should be taken away. So when you send it to archive, this should be only read access. Okay. So let me briefly talk about what is our role, individual role, and when you are working on ProjectWise. What is our responsibility? So when you are working on ProjectWise, the project manager has the responsibility, whether you are water resources project manager or your overall project manager for the project for BAI, you have different responsibilities. So if you're overall project manager for BAI, you want to make sure that once the folder is created, you want to review, like for example, I'm seeing some issues with the setting up the access rights. You work with the SHA project manager and make sure that the folders are set up correctly and the right people have the right access and so forth. That is your first responsibility. The supporting division project managers, their responsibility is to make sure that their folder, let's say water resources is working on this project, and let's say all your design files are going to be here. Let's see, where is it set up? I think we save it under milestone. And we are at constructability review. Let's see, I did not save it there. So CAD files. This is where I saved all the, okay, it's not there. Let me see where I saved it. Okay. Wait one second. I may have saved it in a different folder. Yeah, this is where I saved it. So I just wanted to give you an example. So this is the same project, it's the area-wide breakout. So those people who are working on it will be able to relate to it. So I've uploaded all the CAD files here. The submittals are here in different folders. You see, everything is in preliminary right now because we still have to get a concept. We're still waiting for concept approval. Once we get the concept approval, we will do a formal milestone report, and that time I'm going to send it to draft and and so forth. So I'll change the state at that point. But I believe some of these files do need to update it because the last time I updated this was in April. We're not actively working off of ProjectWise for this project at the moment. This is an existing project. But as you start working on new projects, this is where the files will be saved this is the example of how the files will be saved, and you will be, in order to open the file, you will be double clicking and opening. So just to give you an example, let's say I want to open this MHD file. I'm going to, if I right click on it, I have different options here. Okay, you have open as read only, and then you have view. So I'm giving you some basics here. So open means you're opening the file and you're checking it out. So just like a library, you go and get a book checked out. When you open the file gets checked out to you and it becomes locked from editing by anybody else. So while you are in that file, nobody else can edit it. Just like when you open a file from P drive, other people will not be able to write on that file. It's the same way this works is you open, it gets checked out. Open as read-only, you will be able to open the file as read-only. So you don't want to, you're opening a file just to view something. You are not intending to make any change to that file. Specifically, let's say you are water resources and you are opening a highway file, you know. You don't need to change, you are not planning to make any changes to that file. You just open it as read-only. What is the difference between a read-only and view? So when you open a file as read-only, ProjectWise still keeps something called audit trail. What that is if you go to properties, and there is something called audit trail. Right now it says, it was uploaded, there is no audit trail history, right? Let me just do open as read-only. So as soon as I did that, it said these are all the reference files attached to that file. They're asking me, do you want me to copy out those files? Yes, you do want to copy out those files. You don't want to check out those files. You're just trying to copy out so that you are able to see those references when you open the MicroStation. Checkout means you are going to make edits to those files. Okay, so you don't need to use select all because if any files are already checked out, it will say up to date. The things that are saying need a refresh means these files have been updated. So I'm just going to say OK. And it's going to open that file. It might take a while to open it. If you're working while it's opening, I'm going to give you a few tips. I have heard people who have used ProjectWise in the past. I've heard comments that ProjectWise works slow for them. The number one reason for ProjectWise to work slow for anyone is when either you have a very slow internet at home or you're not following the ProjectWise workflow correctly. Because I say that is because ProjectWise is just a platform, outside platform. It basically downloads the files to your local computer and opens it from your local computer. So once it has downloaded the file, and it only downloads when it needs to download. Means if the file needs to be updated, that's when only it downloads. Otherwise, the file already resides on your local computer. So opening it from P drive is going to be actually slower than opening it from your local computer because it's physically getting stored in your C drive as opposed to your P drive. So it should open even faster than opening it from P drive. Second thing is, technically speaking, you don't even need VPN to be able to open ProjectWise and open these files. But you do need VPN connection because, as I explained to you before, the physical license sits on S drive, which is under VPN. At least right now, that is how it is. Eventually, it may change. And at that point, if it goes to cloud, then you may no longer need VPN to be able to access ProjectWise. Right now, to use ProjectWise, you have to first connect to VPN, make sure you have access to S drive, then you launch ProjectWise. So if you're remoting in, you're working from home, uh, first of all, you need to make a habit to log out of VPN every day at the end of the work. That needs to be a habit. The second habit you need to have is to shut down your computer, not close the lead and make it to a you know a hibernated situation. You need to shut down your computer completely. Next day when you open the computer, you restart. Start the computer, log in, then you connect to VPN, go to S drive, make sure you're able to access S drive, close that, then open ProjectWise. Any question to that? Okay, because like I explained, the license is physically stored on S drive, so you need to have access to S drive before you can access the software. But once you are done that, then ProjectWise runs, it downloads the files, and you're working locally off of your laptop. So the file has opened. It took maybe a minute or two because I haven't opened it for a long time. You see, it says read only. You cannot make any changes. You can view it. I'm just going to quickly close it. Now, if I go back to that file and I go to properties and audit trail, I'm not sure. It should say, ideally, it should say that it will show my name and that I checked, I read that file. Maybe the audit trail has been turned off or something, but that's how it's supposed to work. So that's what I was trying to demonstrate to you. So the difference between opening a file as read-only and view is when you view the file, it also opens the file. It opens the local version of that file that is stored physically in your C drive, and you're able to see that file just like opening a MicroStation file from your C drive. Versus opening it read-only, it still checks if the file is up to date from the server. If there is a more upgraded file in the server, it downloads that, stores into your file in your C drive, and then you open the file. But it does give you an audit trail where it will tell you that you actually viewed the file. So if what's the use of these two tools, right? So the first thing is if you're really working on a project and there is a legitimate reason for you to open the file and view something, then my recommendation that you use this open as a read-only. Okay. However, if let's say you are working on a project and you're just curious what maybe there's a similar project somebody else is working on, another consultant is working on, and you're curious how they are doing it, and you don't necessarily want to tell them that, look, you're looking at their files. You can sneak in and use the view command, and you'll be able to see that without leaving any audit trail on project. So as long as you have access to view it file, that means you have the view access, read-only access to that folder, you should be able to open it. Any questions so far? Okay.
I'm not sure if I'm ahead, but
Yeah.
I was wondering how you set up those workflow status.
So yeah, that's a great question. That's a good segue also. So when you open the file, when you upload any files to ProjectWise, by default, it is always preliminary. That's the first stage. To change the state to the next one, you go to change state and hit next. I'm going to do that real quick here. So it changed to draft. That's as simple as that, right? I can change it always back. I can go to previous and it will become preliminary again. Okay. Now, if I go to audit trail, it should say that I changed the trail. Okay. See? Now it says I changed from draft to preliminary and preliminary to draft, right? I cannot delete it. This is the purpose of the audit trail. Well, the main purpose of the audit trail is for the people who are using these files to kind of see what's going on that file. Like if you made major changes to the design and you're checking in a file, let's say you checked out a file and you made major changes to the design, you can actually provide a comment that, hey, I updated the pipe profile. You can type a comment that I updated the pipe profile for storm drain, XYZ, right? So the person who opens the file next time, they will get a pop-up, and it will tell that this file has been updated because this pipe profile was updated. That's the purpose. I don't know if we always use that feature because it becomes heavy, and I think just has started kind of not mandating that anymore. But it will prompt you to provide some comment every time you check in a file. Does that answer your question, Solomon?
Yep. Thank you. Yes.
So again, preliminary to draft to review to archive and so forth. Will be using the same command, change state, next. That's how you're gonna do it. I did not mention another one. It's called final status. There is a purpose for that. Let's say you are in preliminary, and even if you don't want to change that to draft quite yet, but you want to mark it for yourself or maybe for your team that it is at a final, you can come here and do it the set final status. And again, it'll make a comment. Let's say I'm going to make a comment that I'm just going to say test. Or you can type in anything. I'm just going to say, okay. What it does, it just creates a log. So now, even though it is in preliminary, if you double click and open it, it will only open it as read-only. Regardless whether you double click, left click, right click, whatever you do, it will open it as read-only because you have put it in final state. Now you can again change that back to remove final state, and it unlocks the file. Unlock. And so it's basically a temporary way to lock the file from editing, but inadvertent editing if for some reason you want to do it that. Okay.
Quick question. Yes, Pushka. Normally in MicroStation, if you are having a reference and you can reload it and it will show you any changes that is happening if somebody's working on it. Now in ProjectWise, how is the reload working if somebody else is also working in a reference? Because you're copying it out, right, as you open it?
Good question.
Yeah.
So the short answer, let me open the file again. So the short answer is it works very similar to when you work on a MicroStation file from P drive. When you go to P drive and you go to file reference, you will see that the file's references have been updated. And you do a refresh references or reload references, like you mentioned. The same way it works in ProjectWise when you're working on ProjectWise. Let me show you. Well, first of all, when you open the file, like I showed you, it will say ProjectWise will prompt that those files need refresh, right? So when you are double clicking and opening the file, it will automatically download the updated version of those reference files to your C drive so that you have the right updated files reference to your file. The other thing it does is if you go to file reference, and let's say you are working on it, and I'm working on this file, and MSW file was updated by Solomon, I will see a dot here appear next to it. And when I hover over it, it will say update requested.
Okay, that's good.
It's kind of similar. So then when you know that, you just come here and just reload. The same reload function is available.
Okay, great.
That only happens when two or three people or more are working simultaneously at the same moment. And let's say you know that they're making changes and you're eager to see what changes they have made because you have whatever you're doing is impacted by them or their work is impacted by you, then that happens. But if let's say they worked on it and then you opened it next day, it automatically opens. So you don't even have to do that. I just
Good.
Okay. So that's pretty much the basic. I think I have covered most of the basic ProjectWise functions. I just want to again reiterate the responsibilities of each person. So you see, I double clicked, so it's checked out now. It has a red checkbox, which means if I close the file now, it's going to prompt me to check it back in. So this is the window comes in, it says check in. And I have an option of checking it in, updating a server copy, or free it. Free it means if I did not make any changes, I can just free it. Means it's gonna check it back in without making any revisions to the file. Second option is update server copy, which means my local copy of the file will still be old, the older version of the file, and the server copy will be updated with the revision that I have made. And I would, this is my advice, never ever use that function. Never ever use that function in this window, because it's just going to break the chain from your C drive and the ProjectWise server. So never, even if you by mistake click on this, then you can then check out the file. I'll show you how to do that. The update the local version. It's called copy out. I'll tell you how to do that. But here I did not make any changes, so I can free it. If I check it in, it should be able to. I should be able to do that. Just check it in. It's supposed, because it's preliminary, maybe the things have been, auditor has been turned off, but otherwise it should have asked me a prompt to add an audit trail comment that what changes I made to the file. Let's say I by mistake clicked on the update server copy. The server is updated by my local copy is old, which I did not intend to do. I can come here. This is, you're looking at the server, and you can use this function called copy out. If I do that, it's going to copy that file back into my C drive. So next time I open it, I have the latest version from update from the server to my C drive.
So if you right click on it, Pushkar, there's another command called refresh local copy. Doesn't it make the same change?
Yeah, they does basically copying out and refresh local copy does the same thing.
Okay. I have a question. So all of these files, whenever you open it, they are going to be stored on C drive, not a P drive that we have on our server.
That is correct. Let me show you where it's getting stored.
Yeah, C. I think something like that.
I think now we're getting into a little bit advanced territory. Thank you, Shayak. But just for beginner users, you do not need to necessarily understand this, but just follow along. So if you go to your C drive, so what is happening in the background when you're working on ProjectWise? ProjectWise creates a folder called PW data. Okay. First time when you log into ProjectWise, username, password, you log in, it automatically prompts you that you want to create this folder because this folder does not exist. And you say just OK, and it will create that folder. Inside that folder, you will see a subfolder. Here's me, but you have all these subfolders are being created by ProjectWise. And each of these names, the name of the folder is created automatically by ProjectWise, but these folder names, you can access it right here. If you scroll to the right, all the way, no, maybe not here. They may have changed the setting of this. But if we go to properties, you would be able to see.
Yeah, it used to give the folder name before. Now it doesn't give anymore for some reason.
I'm pretty sure you can figure out a way to get that. I will find that out, but there is a way to know which folder this file, when you copy it out or check it out, which folder is it located. Okay. The reason they probably took it out because they don't want people to mess with it, right? But I'm sure there is a probably workaround. But that's where it's getting stored, and that's what I was explaining you. So because the files are physically stored on your C drive, it should open theoretically much faster because you are not dependent on your VPN speed. You are only dependent on your internet speed at home or office in an office. So But go ahead, Shai, that you wanted to ask some question about.
So let's say this project that you're working on what is this 700 MD700? You have MHD000 MD700 on ProjectWise, but you worked on P drive. Let's say you changed it on P drive MHD file. So if you want to update this ProjectWise file with the file that you have on your P drive, how would you update it? You just drag
So
and drop it?
if I know, never drag and drop anything on
Exactly.
ProjectWise, it's just another copy, another version of it. So instead of doing that, the workaround would be, I know there are a couple of ways to do that. One is if we knew which folder it is located, you can just copy, basically overwrite that file and then check it back in. But the other way to do that would be using the export function. So before I begin on this journey of exporting the files on ProjectWise, I just want to tell you that I extremely discourage people from using export, especially if you are working on a project that is only stored on ProjectWise. Now, this particular project, we have it on ProjectWise, we have ProjectWise folder, but we're not actively working on ProjectWise on this project. So yes, exporting probably works for this project particularly, but in future, when you're working on an open rules designer project and everything stored on ProjectWise, I would strongly discourage you to use this function. But to answer Shaq's question, I can export this file, and there are two ways to export. One is export locks the file, changes can be re-imported, and the second is send to the folder, create unmanaged local copy. Okay, so what you want to do is send to folder, create unmanaged local copy. Okay, so what it does is it basically downloads the file to a specific folder that you have created. So if I do that, and it's going to tell me which folder I want to download it to, I can browse to my Windows Explorer, Office Windows Explorer. I can download that file to anywhere, right? So if I can go to, let's say, to my OneDrive, and I can just select that file, I can download there, right? And it's going to take some time because it's a large file. So it's going to say it's already there. So I say no to all.
Oscar, a quick question. If we download the print file, it downloads all the model files and layout files.
Everything.
And when we close it, check in, it checks back everything.
No, it only checks back the file that you checked out.
Including the model files?
No, the reference files that are reference to your project MicroStation file, yeah, you're not making any changes to them unless you're doing within the MicroStation, if you're going into what is that function where you go and change the reference files. If you do that, then you are checking out those files as well. So yes, when you're checking back in, at that point, it's going to ask you to check back all the files that are supposed to be checked back.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
I just exported that file, right? And you see there is no lock function. It doesn't say that it's checked out, right? So yes, I have the file now. I can change the file locally, but you see there is no way to update the server copy. If I do update server copy, it's grayed out. And that is because the server copy is up to date, right? The changes that you made, you made those changes locally to your computer, the files that I just downloaded. There's no way for you to update the server copy. The only way you can update the server copy if you export and use that first function, which is locks the file, and changes can be re-encoded. So you can do that, and then you can specify the export folder. Again, I can do the same thing. So to answer Shaik's question, you should do export and use export locks function. Export it to the folder that you want it to export to, make the changes, let's say you exported it to the P drive, you make the changes, and you come back here and review. That would be the way to do. But again, like I said, I would highly discourage doing that. You can do it occasionally, rarely, in a dire situation.
So, Pushkar, the projects that we have that we are not working on ProjectWise, but we have to constantly upload the files for sub-consultants or the clients.
Yes, you can use that. You can use that.
Right click on it and then say export. And
use that first.
So what does next one? If you hit next, what does it show you?
It gives you the folder option.
So the folder, we can path it to our P drive from here.
You can go to P drive. Yes, you can go to P drive.
Map it to P drive and then just say.
You can go to the project. Yeah, select that. Yeah,
but it will be come back and just say update server copy.
Exactly. And it will update the server copy.
Okay.
Okay.
So Pushkar, just to be clear, that second option is like to copy out, right? Pretty much.
That second option is like copy out. Exactly.
Okay.
Except it's not copying out to those.
It's not going to PW data.
Yeah. It's going to whatever folder you are dictating.
You specify where you want to send it. Okay.
Yeah. Again, these are. That's why I said these are not basic functions. These are advanced functions. For most of us, 90% of us, we don't need to even do any exports. We never have to do any of the copy outs. All you do is double click open or right click and open it at read only, and that's it. Okay. The last thing I would just, again, since we are harboring onto a little bit of advanced stuff, I'm going to show you a few other tips and tricks. The first one I'm going to show you is something called local document organizer. It's very important especially for project managers. It can be accessed through this icon here on the toolbar, or you can also go to tools, and I believe local document organizer. What that is it's basically one stop shop where it's going to show you all files for all of your projects that you ever have checked out, copied out, exported. It's going to show you everything. Right now, I have nothing checked out, nothing exported, nothing copied out. But if I did, if I want to show all the copies, it'll show all the files that I have copied out from ProjectWise. So these are stored on your local PW data. And this is the way to find which folder it is located. So to answer Shaq's earlier question, they have taken out that, but it is still here under the file name, under local document organizer. You'll see where the folder, where it is located. Because every file is, whether it's checked out or exported, it will be copied out and we'll be able to see it where it's located. So what happens is if you keep working on ProjectWise, you have a lot of these files that are copied out and your C drive becomes large. It becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, right? Because it's constantly storing those data. So it's a good practice that once in every month, you come here in this local document organization and you use some command called purge. You can select all and you can go. I'm not going to do it because I'm going to purge copy. It's going to delete all the files from my C drive. And it'll basically open the space, clean up the space for C drive. It's going to delete everything. The folders will not be deleted, but the files itself will be deleted. So next time when you open the file, it will download the file from the server and save it on the local drive. Okay. So that's I wanted to quickly show you. And same way, if you want to view all the checked out element items, all the exported items, all the workspace copies, they will all show everything here. And you can individually do it or do it all together, select all, and so forth. You can see this is also an area where you can see if a file is checked out by someone. It will tell you, checked out by so and so. It's right now, nothing's checked out, so nothing's showing. It will show when it is, when the file was updated, and so forth. Okay. Any other question? Okay. And I think it will take a little bit of getting used to. So set it up. I can help, answer any questions. Help people set up the window properly. I didn't go over a few other comments, like for example, having these custom folders. It is because SHA has so many projects and you are only working 2 or 3 projects. It is always good to utilize this custom folder. So there are 2 things I want you to do as a best practice. Go to options. And make sure that you have this check that says select the last used folder in ProjectWise Explorer. Make sure that it's unchecked. Okay. And then the other thing you want to do is you want to come here. So what happens is when it's unchecked, when you open ProjectWise, it's by default always opens like this. Right? It'll open like exactly like this. And when you expand it, it'll open like these folders. So the custom folders, they have global folders and personal folders. This is just a shortcut. So it's a folder where it decides all the shortcuts. And I've created you can create subfolders. When you open first time, you'll not have any subfolders here, but you can create a subfolder. You can create a folder. So I created a BI projects. And what you do is whatever projects you are working on, let's say you're working on a District 6 project, active projects. Let's say you're working on this project, 219 8th Street. It's not our project. You can actually right click and drag it all the way down to your BI projects and drop it. It's not going to make a copy. It's just going to create a shortcut to that folder in that folder. Okay, I just released it. I didn't want to create it, but that's how I created all the shortcuts. So next time when you open, all your projects are right here, so you can quickly open your files from here.
Can you show that one more time, Pushkar? Go to Tools, Workspace. And then
So go to Tools, Options,
Options.
Settings,
Okay.
User Interface,
Uh-huh.
and uncheck. You select last used folder in ProjectWise folder. So what happens is when you click that, if it's checked, it's going to remember which folder you were working before. It's going to bring you back to that. If you are working only one project, then that is the best thing to do. But since we work on multiple projects, my recommendation is you uncheck that box, give it OK, and then create the shortcut so that you can pick which project you want to work on and go from there.
Okay.
All right. And I created some BI resources here. Again, a lot of these resources are here. I can share some of that when you are able to access ProjectWise. There is a lot of resources that are available in ProjectWise, including cost estimating manual, different design manuals, different design standards, and so forth. So if you're actively working on stuff, it's a good practice to store some of those ProjectWise resources here and be able to reference them while you are working. That's all I have. We're 2 minutes over. But when you work on a design project, you're working on MicroStation, you may also get a comment, a prompt on the ProjectWise that you need to install Workspace, and just say, okay, yes, I want to install the Workspace. It automatically installs the Workspace for you. Again, it's a managed workspace, means you cannot access that Workspace 3.1. I believe that's the latest name. Outside of ProjectWise, it's not available through S Drive. We cannot download it. Fortunately or unfortunately, that's how it's going to be. And if you're working with OpenRoads Designer, it's a much robust, more user-friendly software than Power Inroads or any previous version of Inroads. You will see that your life will be much more easier for using that software and doing what you need to do. So with that, I'm going to conclude this session. As I said, if you have any follow-up questions, please reach out to me. Then I will try to answer your questions. So I had sent out an email, so please continue to send me those forms. I will process those, send it to the appropriate project managers and SHA, and have those accesses provided to you shortly. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good afternoon.